Alright guys, welcome back to the shop. It's John. You probably recognize me from TV, but I'm also a saw builder, professional stuntman, and I hold the world record for the fastest ever complete disassembly of an MS500i, and I use nothing but this finger and a bottle of nitrous. That one's going to be hard to beat, I'm just saying. Now, as you can tell, I'm in a good mood. I'm pretty excited because we have the CCC Racing Wiseco piston for the 500i. So I gotta say, first off, big thank you to David from CCC Racing. I will put his website in the description. If you are into race saws or modding your saw and you have not gone on his website or checked him out, you are completely missing out. That is no joke. First Wiseco I ever used was in a YZ125 and I was like 14 or 15 years old. This is no joke. So as a lot of you guys know, I started building dirt bikes and I had done a couple bikes, even that young, I was building my own bikes. So I had done the reed valves, pipe and all that stuff. And I, didn't have a ton of money. So I was always into, messing with the cylinders. And when I first tried a Wiseco piston, I could not believe the performance increase you got. I was blown away. And ever since then, I've just been a huge fan of them. And I've used a lot of them. I have never had an issue. So that is for Wiseco across the board, and for Dave with CCC Racing, he has a deal going with him and he can get pistons for a lot of different saws. Now, I was not paid to say that. He did send me these pistons. I'm going to give my honest review. I'll be upfront with you. He did send these to me, but that is from the heart and that is from experience. I have a 500 already tore apart behind me, and we'll port time it, we'll get all the numbers, and then weigh it, measure it, and I'll show you why I don't like the stock 500i piston, and why I did the hybrid builds. This is Eric Saw from Colorado. He's a good friend of mine, and it's not just powder coat and dye and all that. This is a hybrid. This has a 660 piston in it, and the reason for that was the terrible 500i piston. That's the whole reason I got into the hybrid build. It wasn't just to have fun, or because I wanted to. It's literally because their piston is so bad. So I'll show you why I don't like it. I'll show you why the Wiseco is going to be better. And with that said, I have not actually looked at this piston yet. I've not measured it. I've not weighed it. I haven't done any of that. Especially haven't port timed it. We're going to do that live. We're doing it live. All right, before we get into this, got a 500 here tore apart, and we'll compare the stock piston to the Wiseco. Now, if you're not familiar, the Wiseco pistons are forged. They're actually done in the US too, which is pretty cool, but the pistons in your saws are cast. They all come with cast pistons, and these are a whole different ballgame. They're stronger, they're lighter, they're cleaner, because they're machined. They're not, melted down and poured into a mold. So if you haven't actually held one in your hand or checked one out, it's something that you kind of have to physically get your hands on to see the difference. And performance is, you're getting gains right out of the box. Now, I will add that this is not a drop-in piston. Some of the stuff he offers on his website, again, his website will be in the description. You can do a piston swap and you're good to go. This one, there's other work that has to be done, some machining, some work to the case, but I like that because I'm a saw builder, but I'll just make that clear. Anything you would buy from him, he's a super helpful guy. I've actually bought stuff from him before I was a famous saw builder and YouTube star. He probably doesn't even know that, but he's a really helpful guy. He's got all the ring end gap charts, and he'll help you out if you got any questions, but just look on his website before you buy something, make sure you know what you're getting. With that, he offers big bores. This is the standard 54 millimeter. But you can get it in 56 if you can get your cylinder punched out and replated. He's got bars, chains, all kinds of stuff. Go check him out. This is not a paid endorsement or anything like that, but he's a good dude. This is a good product. So let's get into this. So I'm going to show you right now why I do not like the 500i piston. This is the exhaust side, which is not as important. It's not going to be responsible for port timing, but check that out. Look how uneven that is. We got way more on the left side than the right, and why can't it be squared off? I don't understand this. And look at the intake. It's got a dip in the middle, and the the difference in heights for the skirts on the intake side is insane, up to 50 thou. So 50 thousandths of an inch, which can be close to, that's close to 5 degrees. The difference matters, especially on a 500i when your intake port timing is already really low. So imagine if you're 50 thou the wrong way, and now your intake stock is sitting at 87, 88, and you're kind of screwed. There's not much you can do. And I know people epoxy intakes. I don't personally do that, but it's an option. I have not looked at the Wiseco yet. This is a voiceover, but at this time I had not looked at it, and I was really pleasantly surprised, so I'll give that much away. But we're going to start measuring different, we'll measure the intake, the exhaust, the lengths, and here we're going to look for the shortest, like what's the shortest distance, because that's where your intake is going to start taking in your fuel air mixture. And I think this one they're usually around 144, 45-ish. So this one's like kind of right in the middle of it. I think I got 144.3, but we're not gonna go all the way to the 3. We'll just do 144. So, and this is in inches, 1.44 inches, or 1 inch, 440 thousandths if you want to be a prick about it. But now we're gonna measure the exhaust. Again, this would only matter if it was so short that you would be free porting, and I haven't ran into that yet. But still, I just don't understand this. Why they can't be even? Why on their 500i is it the worst piston they got? But anyway, I came up with on the exhaust 1.49, almost an inch and a half. And what can I say? So the width, they kind of do have a narrow width to them, so that's going to limit you to how far you can widen your exhaust or your intake. And it's just one of those things, the piston's not as supported, but this number is consistent throughout. And I'll give it the benefit of the doubt. There's these numbers and whatnot that's in the casting that stick up on the side, so you want to make sure you don't hit them. But I give it the benefit of the doubt, and I go 1.51. So here's the numbers that we got on the stock piston. Now, let's unbox this Wiseco. I'm excited for this, guys. If you have not used a Wiseco, check this out. This is one of the coolest things about them. It comes in a freaking pouch. How awesome is that? Anything that comes in a pouch is way better than anything else that doesn't. So, again, these are forged. They're way lighter, way stronger, way cleaner, and if you haven't seen one yet, check this out. It's like a work of art compared to the stock piston especially, but it's a pop-up, single ring, squared off on the bottom, everything I like to see. And we'll measure it and weigh it here in a little bit, but it's got a lot going on already just from a visual point of view, or just from a visual inspection. Squared off on the bottom, it's single ring. I talk about how I like single rings all the time. Locating pin for the ring in the middle of the intake, I like that too. I wish more manufacturers would do that. Also, the 500i piston does not have oil ports for the wrist pin. These Wisecos do, but check that out. Isn't that weird? I cut them in, but something to keep in mind. Let's check this thing out for real. So I'm going to put a circlip in it we're going to do a weight comparison, but these are the tools that I use. They're just little installers from Steel. There's 2 of them. You can see the numbers there. And I think there might be a third one for the smaller saws, because these won't work on like the 200T and smaller. But it's just got a little magnet on the end, and it's a 2-piece tool that you basically pop the circlip in and you install it in the saw. It's super simple. I know people use picks and pliers and all that, but I like these. I like them. They work good, and I've used them quite a bit. But so again, not that my freaking postage scale even goes to the 10th of a gram, but I don't know why. I'm trying to be thorough here. So the pistons from Wiseco don't come with any circlips in, so I use the wrist pin to install it, so I don't push it in too far. But you just push that circlip through, and it goes inside the groove on the piston. It's super nice. And then just push it from both ways and make sure it's in there right. Some people like bend the hell out of them and get them in. I don't really like that, because
It's a spring, it really is what it is. I mean, if you think about it, it's a spring. And you're taking the springiness out of the spring. It's in there, but that wrist pin goes in there so smooth. So those are really nice tools. Again, I show the numbers, but maybe I'd put it in on text. But so we're like I said, we're apples to apples, even though this postage scale isn't even. Sometimes I get 1 gram heavier or lighter, but here's the 500i piston. This is really standard. I did this a few times. I got 91, I got 92, so we called it 91 on this one. And at this time, I was hoping for like 84 grams. Again, bigger piston, and you guys aren't gonna believe this. You know, I'm a big fan of lightweight pistons. That's why I machine my pistons. Part of the reason. And again, I was hoping for like 84. What do you think? 83 even? 80 fucking 1. Holy balls. Good job, guys. Good job. I love it. So 11 grams off of the factory piston. So with all the machining and some builds, I cut windows in them. Like I'll cut windows in these 500i pistons. Cutting windows, like see this one has windows. So cutting windows, machining, doing everything I can get them down to like 82 grams. Now, the Wiseco's a pop-up and it's freaking 81. That's insane. And it doesn't have windows cut or the top machined. So this would also be a pop-up, not this 500i piston I'm holding in my hand, but the Wiseco, I consider that a pop-up. What I do is domed. I machine material off. The Wiseco has material that's basically added. So, or it's not added, it's machined in the design. But I'm already in love, guys. That's exactly what I wanted to see, and more, because I mean that's way lighter. So this time I got 92, which is actually more consistent. So we're gonna call it 92. So it's 11 grams lighter. Holy hell! You know what 11 grams lighter does? And what's the percentage on that? A shitload? That's a shitload of percentages. Because if you think about it, you know, 11 grams off of 90 grams, that's quite a bit. Got to be 1,000,000% at least. So here we go. Again, at this time, I'm not making this up. I was like, I hope they give us about 1.5 inches. And look at this shit. Right on 1.5 inches. That's what I want to see. Gives us room. That gives us a lot more than we get off the stock piston. What is that? Like 60, 70 thou more than their best piston. So that I like that. Gives you room to play with, and I can tell the skirts are way wider. The exhaust and the intake are both the same, by the way, so it's 1.5 inches. And the width, it's way freaking wider. So you could widen your exhaust port more. I like that too. There's no stamping on the side of it, so it's really easy to measure. It's killer. I think they did a good job designing this. David, if you see this video, I hope you do. Killer job designing this. So let's go through this. This is pretty amazing. Again, pop-up, single ring, I like both of those things. So the intake, 100 or 1.44 versus 1.5, that's 60 thousandths you're gaining of extra skirt on the intake, which is responsible for port timing. 60 thou is almost 6 degrees. That's awesome. So if you're doing these builds and you're one of the guys that are doing epoxied intake floors, you could get away with not doing that. That's huge. The exhaust side doesn't really matter, but it's squared off, still the same length, and a hell of a lot wider. So you could widen your exhaust and intake, and 11 grams lighter. There we go. So I got the piston in. I'm going to say right now, this is not a drop-in piston. So I had to deck the cylinder for one, but also do some work to the crankcase. I'll show that in the second video because there's going to have to be a part 2 to this. I was going to port time it against a stock one, but it's really not apples to apples because you do have to do some work to the cylinder, and I'll explain all that in the next video. But I want to see what just the piston swap does if you did the bare minimum. Again, I got it in there. I got the squish and check by decking the cylinder. I'm going to go run it with no porting, and then the next video with the 500, I'll go mental with the porting. I'll show you guys what I had to do, and we'll maybe pin it against a stock saw. But I got this really hard locust out here, 25-inch bar. I'm going to give this thing a rip.
I bet it's pretty noticeable. Again, no porting. So the next video, I can't make these videos too long or I lose attention real fast. The next video we'll talk about what you'd have to do, where the port timing lands. And again, David, I really appreciate you sending me this. Very cool of you. Sorry it took so long to get the video out, and we're going to do it justice though. I'm the 500i guy. I really love these saws, and already having ran the saw, I'll be honest, fucking amazing. Check this out. There we go. So the Wiseco in the end is actually going in a pretty rad 500i for Four Brothers out in Washington. I believe they're out in Washington. But it's going to be outrageous. Like, it's going to be off the wall. And I got a 460 up here, two of them actually. I got these from Robin at Triple S because we got a Wiseco for a 460. So you know what I'm going to do with that. Yep. All right, that's going to end this one. We'll conclude the whole Wiseco 500i and 460 journey a little bit down the road. And as always, stay rowdy, my friends. I almost forgot about this crazy contraption. I'm going to have to get some more 500i pistons from David. This is a 461 crankcase with a 500i top end on it with the Wiseco in it. So that's pretty sweet. The hybrid 461i 500. Anyway, where's the outro? Somebody bail me out. This is the raddest thing I've ever seen in my life. Really?